So it's Memorial Day weekend here, and what does that mean? The start of summer. So I thought I'd put together my summer list of fragrances for 2022. These are designers and niche, mostly niche. Lots of designers as well, more or less designers, but great summer fragrances. And I'm going to do several summer themed videos throughout the month of June, maybe into July as well while I'm in Europe. And so today I tried to make it a little less citrusy, with a little more variety of different kinds of fragrances that are perfectly suited for summer. So find out about my top 20 summer fragrances for 2022 coming right up. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian. Yes, today we're talking about summer fragrances. This is the time of year that we love to wear fresh fragrances. At least I do. But, you know, I don't really have a rule of wearing a specific type of fragrance for a specific season, but a lot of you do. So I do these themed videos in case you are one of those types of people and you want to pull a citrus for summer, or a fresh fragrance for summer, or fresh fragrance or citrus fragrance for any time of the year, because these fragrances can be very uplifting when it's really dark and gloomy and cold outside. So I'll let you know the fragrances. Before I do though, if this is your first time tuning in, as always, if you haven't subscribed, please do click the subscribe button below and also click the bell so that you'll be notified for future videos and giveaways. So let's start. This is the first fragrance, ACQUA de Parma's latest, Colonia Club. So there's another Colonia Club. This is Club with the dots or periods between the word club. It's different than the other. I prefer this one over the other. This is a clear bottle. The other is green, I believe, and I didn't care for that fragrance whatsoever. This one's nice and fresh and bitter and herbal and aromatic, and it features this note of Shiso, which is this very interesting herb. It's kind of like a cross between mint and parsley and a few other herbs thrown in together. So we've got Shiso, rosemary, bergamot, lemons, pink pepper, black peppers, cedar, and musk. It's very, very fresh and aromatic. You do experience the herbs here. If you like the smell of herbs, this one's definitely going to satisfy. Also, it has lots of citruses, plus it's got some woods and musk as well, along with some spices. I think it's a great fresh wear. This is the kind of fragrance you would liberally spray lots of when it's hot outside, and you smell really, really great and fresh and aromatic and green. Moving on to the house of DS and Durga, it's I Don't Know What. And I Don't Know What is not only a primer, a fragrance primer, but it's also a great fragrance to wear on its own, especially when it's really, really hot outside. Sometimes hot heat and humidity kind of warrants very, very minimalistic fragrances, and your nose is tired, everything is tired, and the heat exhausts. This is the kind of fragrance I like because not only it doesn't overwhelm and complicate things, it also has great smell. It smells great when it's amplified heat outside. This is a primer for fragrances, or like I said, you can wear it on its own, and it's wearing minimalistically with a muskiness. It's lots of bergamot, and there is ISO Super here. There's Vetiver, Acetate, Civetone, Firsantol, and Ambrox. So it's a minimalistic fragrance with these kind of synthetic molecule-ish kind of notes, but there's definitely a citrusy touch here and a little bit of an animalic quality, but definitely all molecular and synthetic. I think the only thing that's not synthetic here is the bergamot, but it's absolutely fantastic and very, very sexy. DS and Durga's I Don't Know What. Try it on its own or use it as a layering tool, and I think you're going to be satisfied. Moving on to number 18, this is Eccentric Molecules Molecule 1 plus Mandarin. Now this original fragrance, Molecule 1, featured ISO Super, which is known for the woodiness, a cedar kind of an experience with a minute amount of sandalwoody touch. Here what they've done is taken that fragrance and added Mandarin Orange to give it a kind of a sweet citrusy experience, and I quite like this one where you want that kind of woody muskiness from the original, but you want a little bit of a sweet citrusy touch with the Mandarin Orange. It's a really, really great fragrance. Once again, minimalistic, but you can wear it liberally and it won't overwhelm, and it smells really, really great. So Eccentric Molecules Molecule 1 plus Mandarin is at number 18. Next, going to the house of Tom Ford. I just featured this in another video recently, the Cypress fragrances video. This is COSTA AZZURRA Parfum. I quite like this one. I like its intensity and its thickness in comparison to the original. I was a real big fan of the ACQUA. I never really got into this fragrance when it was part of the private blend collection, but here in the Parfum version I like it. And this is when you want a summer fragrance and you want intensity at the same time. It is maybe a little overwhelming, but I feel like it's a great fragrance with loads of cypress with oak, lemons, labdanum, and amber. So this definitely has an ambery experience, so it might not come off very, very fresh, and it might last a lot longer in the heat. And sometimes you want those kind of fragrances, and so I recommend Tom Ford's Costa AZZURRA Parfum. You can always go with the ACQUA version or the Eau de Parfum version as well. I'm recommending the Parfum in this video. Moving on to the house of Wilhelm Parfumerie. At number 16, it's Basilico and Fellini. This is a fragrance inspired by Fellini, the Italian filmmaker. And this is a great citrus, I guess I would call it a citrus aromatic and kind of a fruity citrus fragrance. And it features lots of fig with basil. There's dragon fruit, there's fig, there's violet, there's vetiver, green hay. It's a unique kind of a fragrance, kind of fruity and also aromatic and with citrusy touches. And so, as I was saying earlier, I wanted to make a unique variety of different fragrances for summer. I didn't want to focus on all the same fragrances that everybody's talking about. So if you want some unique twists in your fragrances, in this case kind of aromatic, and also fruity and fresh, definitely try the Basilico and Fellini from the house of Wilhelm Parfumerie. Alright, moving on to the house of Ex Nihilo. This is Viper Green. Has anybody tried this one? If you like Galbanum, but more of a fresh take on Galbanum, this is definitely highly recommended. It's a very, very green fragrance, and it's focusing on the Galbanum with its bitterness and kind of ambery, kind of aromatic experience with that particular note. It's a very, very green note here, but they've thrown in some sweetness from Mandarin orange here that kind of brightens it up and adds this kind of a citrusy experience, but more of a sweet kind of citrus. But along the way, you also have some vegetal touches. Of course, Galbanum has vegetal qualities. They've thrown in Angelica to amplify the vegetal touches. There's vetiver here for kind of a grassy earthiness, some powdery touches from iris, and then throw in some jasmine and patchouli. I think this one comes alive in the heat, and I like its greenness, and I like the name. Viper Green is a great fragrance and a great fragrance to wear in the summertime. Viper Green from the house of Ex Nihilo. Try that if you haven't yet. Moving on to the house of Commodity. It's Moss in the minus version. Boy, this whole series of Moss fragrances from Commodity is absolutely fantastic. I absolutely love it. Moss I already enjoyed in the original version, Moss Plus, Moss Minus, all great. I'm featuring Moss Minus because it kind of has a minimalistic quality to it. It's a little bit toned down than the original, and they've amplified it with lots of muskiness. So it feels like there's like Ambroxan in here or some ISOE Super type combination of musks, but it's mostly the Bergamot, the Oakmoss, and the Petitgrain along with all these musks. It's a great, great fragrance, and I think it's a great wearing experience for summertime when you want some, you know, kind of like the Ambroxan type musk along with all those fresh and mossy green notes. So Moss Minus from the house of Commodity at number 14. Moving on to the house of Nuit Nomade. This is Jardin de Misfa, this one right here. I am throwing this one in here. It might get a little sweet, but I feel like this one comes alive in humidity, especially the type of weather we have with the little breezy but also warm and sunny and humid at the same time. I feel this just comes alive on me. It's got dates along with almonds. There's rose, there's saffron, there's cardamom and nutmeg, and it smells really, really fantastic. So it's a little almondy, it's a little spicy, but very, very floral. The rose is really, really prominent, and it basically smells like a floral dessert. So the almonds, the dates, and the saffron, there's definitely a little bit of a leathery undertone, but it smells fantastic. So Nuit Nomade, Jardin de Misfa, a great, great scent. Just use that with caution. It might be a little too much for some of you that like to wear very, very fresh fragrances for the summertime. Moving on to the house of Goldfield and Banks. This is Bohemian Lime. This one's a very sparkly, effervescent, citrus fragrance, and I am featuring a few citrus fragrances, not leaving them completely off the list. And this is a very unique fruity citrus note. It's Australian finger lime, and if you've ever seen this fruit, it's kind of a weird fruit. It kind of looks like caviar coming out of a little thin bean or something. Very, very unique. But the smell of this fragrance is absolutely fantastic. It smells like a Moscow Mule cocktail. It's kind of very sparkling and effervescent and very, very cool and crisp. Along with the Australian finger lime, you've got coriander, you've got some vetiver, cedarwood, and sandalwood, so it has woodiness. Definitely the base and dry down is woody, but it's all very, very spicy and fresh up top. Goldfield and Banks Bohemian Lime, wonderful offering from that house, one of my favorites from that house. And I did do a video recently of their fragrances. I ranked the list, and that one ended up pretty high on the list. Moving on to the house of Mise en Cire, it's Vert Empire. This one's really, really great, soft Petitgrain fragrance experience. Petitgrain is the bitter green green orange, bitter orange leaf. So fragrances do have a citrusy quality, but more on the bitter side and a little earthy, woody at the same time. I love this smell. It's fantastic and I love it in fragrances. And here it's not disappointing whatsoever. This is Petitgrain, Angelica, Mandarin orange, sage, cardamom, paradisone, and ambroxan. So they've thrown in a couple of notes that are synthetic to kind of make the life of the fragrance last longer, like ambroxan in the base kind of extends the life because it's a nice base. It's synthetic and it's kind of an alternative to ambergris. But lots of bitterness here and some vegetal touches and loads of the greenness from the Petitgrain note, and then of course the citrusy touches from the Mandarin orange. A wonderful fragrance. It's Mise en Cire Vert Empire at number 11. So I was surprised how great this particular fragrance is. At number 10, it's Obvious Parfums Un Vervain. This one right here. Absolutely fell in love with it when I smelled it at ZGO Perfumerie when they first put it out there. So verbena is not a note that's really prominently used in fragrances, although there's a few that's coming out that I've got my eye on and I can't wait to smell. But verbena is an herb that has a lemony quality, and they've done a great job with this particular fragrance showcasing the verbena. You know, verbena, ginger, galbanum, vetiver, lemons, cardamom, juniper berry, armoire, and habanolide. So the combination of these notes are great. You know, verbena with ginger, there's the zing to it, there's some spiciness from the ginger, and lemon and verbena, they do complement one another. There's definitely a grassiness with the vetiver, earthiness, and then they have that galbanum in here as well. So there's definitely a green backbone here and a little bitterness from the galbanum note. But it's such a great fragrance, and I think this is perfect in the heat. I really think so. Maybe I should take this bottle with me when I'm traveling next month so that I can have something really, really fresh and zingy with me. But either way, it's Obvious Parfums Un Vervain. Moving on to the house of Maison Francis Kurkdjian. This is Aqua Celestia, this one right here. So this is like a mojito cocktail kind of an experience with lime, mint, black currant, mimosa, and musk. It smells great. It's really refreshing, and it's kind of a playful kind of a fragrance from this house. Playful as in it's kind of got a fruitiness, a little kind of a cocktail-like vibe, and it's a great fresh wear. And then the combination is great. He's done a great job with this particular fragrance, and I feel like it's very, very popular with audience out there into fragrances. But perfectly awesome to wear in the heat, and I think the fragrance comes alive when it's really, really warm outside. So it's Kurkdjian's Aqua Celestia. That's the original version. Moving on to the House of Mancera, it's Intense Cedar Boisé. It's an intense version of the original fragrance. Is it uber intense? It's not uber intense, but definitely has better performance. And it's lots of citruses and lots of fruits like blackcurrant, and then eventually it has some spices in there and a little bit of a more of an amplified leathery touch. And if it's a little too much for you, go with the original, but I have no problem wearing this one, and I wear it with a lot of sprays. I love this fragrance. It's a fresh fragrance, but with some depth to it, and that's the kind of fragrance that I enjoy wearing. And I want, you know, citruses, everybody knows, don't last too long. This one definitely has a better performance than the original, and it has a little bit of a change in the smell, whereas it reminds you of the original, but still kind of has some uniqueness that's not going to make it identical to the original. So Intense Cedar Boisé at number 8. Moving on to the House of Juliet Has a Gun. It's Vanilla Vibes. I wanted a little something beachy in the mix as well. And this one's the great vanilla fragrance you can wear when it's warm outside, and to remind you of you sitting on the beach with the sea hitting, you know, hearing the waves crash, and so I don't know, whatever visual you want to, you know, have with this particular fragrance. But it's a salty vanillic fragrance with musk, benzoin, sandalwood, tonka beans, orchid. Lots of vanilla, but of course the vanilla sweetness is kind of toned down with the sea salt note in here. So it's Juliet Has a Gun's Vanilla Vibes at number 7. So keeping it in the trend of beachy and aquatic, this next fragrance is a lemony citrusy aquatic fragrance. One of my favorite fragrances from this house is L'Artisan Parfumeurs Un Air de Bretagne, this one right here. And it's a great aquatic marine fragrance with that lemoniness. The lemon in here smells fantastic. Contrast it with the marine touches, a little fishy, you know, marine sea breeze kind of a thing. Smells fantastic. And this even also has a cypress note in here, which I could have featured in the cypress fragrances video, but I didn't. I left it off because I consider this more of a marine citrus fragrance. But lots of seaweed here with calone, cypress, bergamot, citruses, neroli, cedar, and ambergris. Fantastic freshie. It's L'Artisan Parfumeurs Un Air de Bretagne at number 6. Moving on to the House of Frederic Malle, it's Lys Mediterranee, or Lee Mediterranee is what I should say. And this is a great floral fragrance experience, but the Easter lily kind of lilies are in here, and the lily smell is really, really superb in this. It's lots of lilies with lotus flower, angelica, orange blossom, musk, seawater, ginger, and vanilla. The angelica definitely has that kind of green vegetal vibe in here, but the lily is king here, and as I said, it reminds me of Easter lilies, and I love the smell of Easter lilies. So whenever I smell this fragrance, what do I think of? Easter. It totally takes me back. But you know, you've got this orange blossom note in here, and the musk is in here, and then of course that seawater to kind of give you the experience of lilies on the coast, along the beach, or on the water, kind of a thing. That's a great fragrance. It's Frederic Malle's Lys or Lee Mediterranee. Moving on to the house of Amouage, it's Lyric Man. Every single fragrance I've spoken about today so far has been unisex. This is a male targeted release, and I think women can totally pull this one off. And this one also has a little bit more of a substance, but I like this one. I like the depth, and it's perfect in the heat as well. It's rose, lime, angelica, galbanum, musk, incense, pine, sandalwood, vanilla, ginger, and saffron. For me, it's mostly about the rose with the lime and the angelica, the galbanum. I get a lot of ginger in here as well, but the combination is really, really great. It's almost like a frozen rose lime popsicle that you know, when you smell it, it's almost like you're gonna, you know, eat this kind of a frozen rosy limey kind of a popsicle. It's a great fragrance. It's very delicious. Amouage Lyric Man at number 4. At number 3, going to the house of Atelier d'Orange, it's You or Someone Like You. This is a given. It's a great smelling fragrance. The mint, the bergamot, the green notes, and the rose. Very fresh, very invigorating, very green, and a little floral, and a little kind of grassy. There's definitely kind of a mauve, grassy kind of experience that's absolutely delicious. And you can liberally spray this stuff in the heat and smell fantastic. Atelier d'Orange, You or Someone Like You. That's a fantastic fragrance. And I absolutely love that fragrance. Alright, a couple more fragrances left. At number 2, it's Nichané's Ambre Calabria. This one had to be on this list, and I love its freshness and the fresh kind of an amber experience. It's got a very green smell with that kind of galbanum note in here, and in addition to that there's green notes, so kind of bitterness from the galbanum, you know, kind of grassiness is also from the green leaves and leafiness, but it's lots of amber, and it's a fresh kind of amber. Throw in some vanilla and bergamot, and then also some spices like coriander and some floral touches like jasmine. I think this happens to be, I know that this is one of my absolute favorite fragrances from Nichané, and the fact that it's this kind of warm weather wear amber fragrance does a lot of great things for me, because I can wear ambers and I love them and absolutely love wearing ambers, but sometimes, you know, in the warmer months they can get cloying. This one doesn't get too cloying if at all. So I really, really enjoy this in the summertime, because I think in the summertime with this particular fragrance it also comes alive a little more. It sweetens up a little more, the greens kind of bloom as well, and makes for a great wearing experience. So Nichané Ambre Calabria at number 2. And the number 1 fragrance is this latest, or one of the latest fragrances from Xerjoff. It's Torino 21. This one I can't get enough of. I recently featured it in another video. It's a great smelling fragrance with lots of mint, but this one also features verbena. Verbena is kind of maybe making a comeback, or making a, you know, kind of like a presence or a statement recently, where some of the fragrances are featuring this note. But I wouldn't call this a very vanilla verbena focused fragrance. I would call this more of a minty fragrance, because there's lots of mint here. There is that verbena for sure, but musk, lemon, basil, blackcurrant, lavender, thyme, and jasmine. And I was saying in a recent video recently, I said that it reminds me of like boil the lemons with like herbs, you know, boil it and drink it like a tea. That's the kind of experience I get with this one. There's a major coziness about this particular fragrance. It's just a fusion of herbs and a fusion of citruses like lemon. And of course there's the addition of blackcurrant here, which makes for kind of a lightly fruity experience. It's a fantastic fragrance, and that's why it deserves to be at number 1. So Xerjoff's Torino 21 is great at number 1. And that's the video for you guys today. That's the list of fragrances, guys. Let me know your thoughts on these fragrances. Do you have a rule about wearing fresh fragrances for the summer, and wear the, you know, the deep, rich, kind of intense fragrances for the winter? And so if you do, then what are you going to wear this particular summer? Let me know, put some comments down, but also let me know if you're fans of these fragrances, or if you haven't, you know, worn them or tested them yet. Are you curious after you watch this video, as I like to find out. Either way, guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please do list below. Please like this video, please share it, follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye. I do have one bonus fragrance. We're going to the house of Rubes Milano. It's Calicanto. I recently featured it in a video of great luxury fragrances, and I love, love, love the way this particular fragrance smells. It's Calicantus flower with peony. There's Mahonia, there's bergamot, there's orange blossom, and pink pepper. There's definitely a lightly fruitiness about this one, but to me, it got a greenness about it, green floral qualities, and it's very, very fresh. I feel like there's lemony citruses in here as well, but the wearing experience is to die for. If you like the idea of a lightly fruity, floral, kind of green, citrusy experience, definitely try Rubes Milano's Calicanto. I think it's a great, great offering, and I wanted to feature it as a bonus fragrance for you guys today. It just didn't make the list, but I think it's a great, solid release, kind of a unique take on a fresh fragrance with these kind of unique notes. So Calicanto from the house of Rubes Milano, that's the bonus fragrance for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for another video very soon. Bye-bye.